All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to GM Philosophy Live. I'm the GM Philosopher. I'm going to double check and make sure my audio is sounding great. Give me one moment because this could all be for nothing if my audio is not really good. All right, we're good to go. I can lose these bad boys and we are ready to rock and roll. Hello, everyone. Today we're talking about 5 things you can do to make D&D players love your paid games. This is a pro GM tip video. However, these tips will impact your games even if you're running free games. This is the thing. A lot of the advice for paid games versus free games is very similar. Like it's the same advice. However, there are some nuances. There are some things that you might do in your free games that are fine that I would never want to do in a paid game. Okay. And there are some liberties you can take. There are some ways you can be chill about certain things. And, such and such when you're running an unpaid game. I believe that this is the truth. And there are a lot of reasons for this, as to do with the glue that keeps the group together. With that being said, when you're running paid games, there are things you want to do for sure. I would argue that you should do those things in your free games. But, it is what it is. Some people game on a more chill level. Some people are more casual about it. We got some people entering the stream. Hello, welcome to GM Philosophy. Drop a comment. Let me know you're here. Let me know you're listening. If you're new, drop the word new. If YouTube brought you here and you are new, friends, I'm the GM Philosopher. We're here to talk about how to make D&D players love your games. I'm specifically going to share some advice I've learned from my paid games. I'm going to learn 5 of them. Blue Rose Line is in the house. Hello, Blue Rose. Welcome back. We got the live stream crew showing up. It's Monday, guys. I have been playing D&D. I play in a game on Sunday nights, and I run 2 games. I literally D&D from 7 p.m. Sunday evening to noon on Monday. Okay, I take 1-hour naps between games, and I ate some pot roast that I got made for me, which was delicious. This is what we're doing. This is how we're living out here, guys. We're doing it. We're going hard in the paint. Listen, I see some more people coming in the chat. If you're new, drop a comment. Let me know who's in here. I'd love to meet you. If we haven't met yet, introduce yourself. Today we're talking about 5 ways to make D&D. 5 ways to make D&D players love your games. These are specifically things I've learned in paid games, but we're also going to talk about free games, unpaid games. Even if you're playing with your friends, your family, I still think you should maybe think about these tips seriously. So let's get started. Number 1, be consistent. I talk about this all the time, but consistency is so important. And I think this is true of anything in life. If you want to be good at something in life, if you really want to crush something in life, if you want to make it the best it can be, consistency is one of the best things you could ever do. I think that there's a question, do you really want it? Guys, I'm going to get real in this live stream because I'm tired of the games. I'm not tired of the D&D games. I love the D&D games. So I'm tired of the like not treating things with the respect they deserve if you say that you care about them, if you say that you like them. So what about when you're running games but you're not consistent? Do you really want to run games then? If we really want to do something, we're going to find a way to make it happen. We're going to do our best. We're going to prioritize it above other things, guys. And so if you are not running consistently, guess what? In whether you're running paid games or unpaid games, what does this show about your commitment to the craft, right? Your games are going to suffer for this. Every time you miss a session as a GM, a little enthusiasm is going to wane. People aren't going to remember the story as well. That cliffhanger you dropped isn't going to have as much gravity, right? Because you skipped a session. What if you're skipping every other session, guys? I've been a player and dropped out of games because they were canceling 2 sessions in a row, then play a session, then canceling 2 in a row. You can't really play D&D like that if you care at all about the emotional resonance of the story. You just can't do it. I see some more people joining the live stream. Hit that thumbs up button and drop a comment. Let me know who's in here so I can say hi to you. If you're new here, introduce yourself. I'd love to meet you. Now, Consistency is what I would say a very basic foundational building block. But here's the truth. You can still run a consistent game and then have players not love it. So what do we do to make players love our games? Okay. Player agency is so key. This is going to be my second point. This is titled 5 Ways to Make D&D Players Love Your Games. Technobabble says, hello. Hello, Technobabble. Welcome to the live stream. Drop your comments, drop your questions. Let's talk about whatever you'd like to talk about. We're here mostly to hang out. My topic is 5 ways to make D&D players love your paid games, but I mean, it's just the topic. It's just it's an excuse to hang out and talk about the craft, talk about the game. GM philosophy is all about empowering game masters to run better games. So let's talk about that. Technobabble, tell me what you've been running. Tell me what you've been playing. Tell me what challenges you've been having. Tell me about your wins. You say, working on one of your games now, just listening. Heck yeah, what system are you running? Let's talk about that. I would love to hear it. However, what I am talking about here with the player agency, if we do not give players the power, the ability to tell the story of their characters in the way they want, we're not going to run games that are as enjoyable. Now, players will try to do broken things, okay? I love my players. Listen to me. Gods is my witness. Hieronius is my witness. Nerul is my witness. I love my players, and some of them, God bless them, they will suggest some broken stuff. They'll send some broken homebrew stuff my way. And I had one player, and I love him. He's a min-maxer. I love him, and I allow homebrew content in my games, which I'm really all about. I love the homebrew stuff. And he sends me a subclass. I open it up, and I think, oh my God. You're going to make, this is exactly what I thought to myself. You're going to make every other player in this game mad at me because I let you run this and they're running a stock subclass doing half the damage and such and such. And first of all, I love this. I love it because he wants to play D&D his way. He wants to tell the story of his character this way. He cares so much about it. He doesn't want to run a stock class. It's not good enough. He wants to tell the story of this character in a very unique way. I'm all about it. I'm here for it. However, we did have to do a little negotiating, right? But I always approach those things very like gently and softly and erring on the side of let the player tell the story the way they want. I don't want to crack down too much. I've had GMs not let me run the kind of character I wanted to run when I was a player because they were afraid of how it might affect such and such in their game. What is this? This is about the GM wanting to prioritize their stuff over the players telling the story they want. Now, there's an element of this. Now we have to acknowledge there's an element of this to where this is not a bad idea. You have to maintain some balance. You have to maintain some integrity of your game setting. You want to respect the setting. You want to respect the tone. We want to respect the game to the point where it's not broken. There's still challenge, right? If we just run an open table where players steamroll everything all the time and there's no conflict, there's no story, there's no consequences, it's not a very good epic story. So we do need to have those ingredients in place. That's not what I'm talking about, though. What I'm talking about is letting players have agency over it, giving them the benefit of the doubt when they want to do a thematic thing or when they want to do a role play thing or when they want to homebrew a thing, right? There are reasons for this. And then when you empower your players to have agency, they're going to care a lot more about the game. They're going to care more about your story that you're trying to work together with them to tell, right? Technoblade says, running Shadowrim, Skyrim, and Shadowdark every other Tuesday night. And then Bert says, same. Wow, I didn't know that was a thing, Shadowrim. I've actually never heard about that before. And then Bert says, lol, Technoblade, sorry. Not the same system. Just started a 5e homebrew going every other Saturday. Oh, every other Saturday. Okay, never mind. I was going to say that was random. 2 people in the chat, both playing Shadowrim, which I've never heard of before. With that being said, hot take, I did used to run Homebrew Fantasy, and I heavily based my homebrew system on the the Oblivion Elder Scrolls game and how you made your classes. I kind of borrowed a lot from that. Turned out to be kind of cumbersome and clunky. Didn't work so good. Ended up rejecting it, going with way more streamlined homebrew stuff. Anyway, we got to give players more agency, guys. We got to give players more agency. Now I see some more people entering the chat. Welcome to the chat. Drop a comment. Let me know what kind of game you're running. Let me know what you're doing out here. Let me know, whether you're playing paid games, whether you're running for your friends or family, in person, virtual. Drop your questions, drop your comments, drop your queries. Let's talk about them, guys. The topic is 5 ways to make D&D players love your paid games, but that is more like a placeholder. We can talk about anything. I'd love to talk about anything. It's Monday. It's for me, it's time to relax because I just got done running like 12 straight hours of D&D. Yeah, I'm not running the whole thing. I was playing some of it. But Dirty Socks is in the chat. Hello, Dirty Socks. How's it going? Anyway, player agency is really, really important. And it's really important partly because if we do not let players push the spotlight, if we do not let players push the narrative, then what are we doing? What are we doing here? Are we invite players to watch us write a novel? Arethico, hey now. Hey, Arethico, how's it going? I recognize you. I think you've been in the chat before. It is great to see you again, my friend. It is great to see you. Dirty Socks says, more agency for the win. But what if you have a group that does not understand agency? Ooh, that's a good question. That's actually a whole topic. Let's talk about it. Okay. What if you have a group that does not understand agency? Here's what I think that means. Sometimes you get a group of players and they do not take into their own hands the power to create the story they want. Maybe they're relying on the GM to lead them. Maybe they're a little inexperienced. Maybe maybe they're quiet and they're afraid that if they project their voice too much in a narrative sense that it'll be rude or something, or that it'll ruin it for other people, right? Sometimes this happens. Sometimes we have players who don't know what it means to have agency and to take control of your agency and to deploy it in the narrative, in the group storytelling endeavor. Because what is a TTRPG? It's an intellectual art project between a bunch of people where they're coming together and they're creating ephemeral art at the table together, right? You experience it. It's amazing. It's magical. And then it goes. And yeah, you can record it, but nothing will ever capture the magic of creating it for that first time. Tonight or last night, this morning, I ran for 2 different groups and we had such a good time, guys. We had such a good time. I laughed so hard. I laugh more in my Monday 8 a.m. session than I've laughed in a D&D game in a long time. I don't know why. Funny stuff happens. The role players in that game have a serious sense of humor, and they find a way to balance the gritty, grimdark nature of it with the comedy and and there's an element of, to a certain point, there's an element of ridiculousness, right? That can be really fun. Bert says you have to constantly pry magical moments for quiet players. Sometimes you do, so here we go. Constantly prying it out of people. That is actually true, but I prefer to say we must help them to bring it out. We have to help them to bring it out, because some of my most epic role players are the quiet players. However, they need a little help coming out of their shell. They need a little help getting the story out, right? Technobabble says Shadow Dark solves this by an always on turn order. Okay, I've never played Shadow Dark, but there are great people in our community who play it, and so I have respect for it. By the way, if you haven't joined the GM Philosophy Discord, join. Link is in the description, guys. We are constantly doing awesome stuff, empowering game masters to run better games, almost 600 GMs strong. Make sure you join if you haven't joined yet. If you haven't grabbed my ebook, The Advanced Art of TTRPG Game Mastery, Deep Philosophy, Insights, and Tactics for the experienced GM, grab it, guys. Link is in the description. Still available for a low introductory price, and it supports the channel. And it's okay if you don't want to spend any money on the channel. Just smash that thumbs up button if you like the content. That's super helpful. Thank you so much. And drop a comment. Let me know what you want to talk about. Arethico says, I'm going to be running a Drakkenheim 5e game on Start Playing soon. Heck yeah. Arethico, are you running paid or is it going to be unpaid on Start Playing? You can use Start Playing to recruit players. What are you doing with that? Okay, so I think that when we're running a paid game, we have to give our players agency. But here's another thing we have to do, guys. We have to make sure we control that spotlight, guys. Spotlight control is the bane of my existence. I will admit it has always been my weak point. And the reason for this is because I think to myself, if players want to speak up, they will. And I just give them open space to do it. This is false. I've gamed for many years under this false assumption. This is not true. And actually, Bert said it right here. This is the notion, right? You have to constantly pry magical moments for quiet players. This is exactly what is going on. Sometimes when you're trying to give massive agency, that's not enough. Giving the opportunity is one thing. Helping your players by giving them like not only the space, but the encouragement and even helping to bring it out of them, making them feel like they can is one thing. Making them want to, making them feel like they should. This is another thing. And I'm going to tell you what, guys, this is what happens in paid games. I've seen it happen. I've seen quiet players join, and of course they're paying to play. They want to have a good experience. However, maybe they're quiet. Maybe they don't say much. Maybe they're more of a background player. Okay. This happens in my free games too, but the thing is that you have more leeway in a free game because there's probably different glue holding the game together. You might be friends. Since the game is free, there's really not like a money loss feeling. If the session is kind of feel bad, you might just be like, oh, that sucked. But it's like, what is it? I just sunk my time. I didn't pay money to be there. Because if I'm going to pay money to be somewhere, I want to pay money to be the best place I can be, I can afford to be. Right. But if it's for free, then it's like, well, I'm going to hedge my bets a little bit. I'm going to, find a cool group and I'm going to understand that it's just a fun game for friends. And I can't hold the GM to a crazy high standard. Right. I think that's the mentality, which is understandable. But when you're running a paid game, it's important to understand that players want to tell the story of the character, but they don't always know how. They don't always know to speak up. They don't always know to take their agency and to use the spotlight when they have the opportunity to do so. They're not going to jump in and make sure they get heard at the part where they want to. What might happen is when the time comes where they want to jump in and talk, if the GM doesn't specifically call on them, they may be quiet, and then the scene passes, and then they get a little angry. They're a little resentful. Maybe their feelings even get hurt, and they think to themselves, why would I want to keep playing in this game? I don't get to do anything. Nobody wants to hear my part of the story. I've been playing for this many sessions, and I've only gotten to do XYZ things. But the truth is, their experience might be very different from what the GM is experiencing. The GM might be thinking, I'm trying so hard to give everyone space to do their thing. I say, it's open role play. What would everyone like to do? Does anyone want to do anything? But I've learned this isn't enough. In paid games, this isn't enough. In paid games, it's really important to single out every single player and make sure that if they haven't claimed spotlight time, we literally push it over to them and say, here's your spotlight time. And then if they're literally like, if I don't want to, then you say, you do it anyway. It's like, you're going to take that spotlight time whether you like it or not. Talk to me for 5 straight minutes, damn it. Tell me what you want your character to do. I'm joking, but like it's joking, but there's a truth to that. You want to make sure that every player gets spotlight time. And sometimes that's what players are paying for, guys, when they're playing in a paid game. They're paying for being at a table where the GM cares so much about their story contribution. Somebody cares so much about their character arc that they're willing to kind of stop everything else and single them out and say, hey, what do you want to do? I haven't heard from you in a minute. What is so-and-so doing? What's your character doing? This means a lot to people. This means a lot. Hey, if you're new in the chat, drop a thumbs up for me. Drop a comment. Let me know what you want to talk about. Arethico says, tier 1 free, then paid. Okay, no, that's super awesome. When you say tier one free, do you mean you're going to start at free and then maybe transition to paid? Or do you mean by tier one free, do you mean absolute highest quality paid? Or I'm sorry, free, then you're going to move to paid. Like I want to know what you mean by tier one free, then paid. And everyone, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you want to talk about. Make sure that you join the GM Philosophy Discord. Links in the description. And also, guys, make sure you grab my premium ebook, The Advanced Art of TTRPG Game Mastery, Deep Philosophy, Insights, and Tactics for the Experienced GM. Learn how to run emotional games that have emotional resonance, strong emotional resonance to keep your players want to come back again and again. And if you want to play in one of my games, guys, start playing. A link is in the description. I run paid games on Start Playing. I've got several games with openings right now, but only a few. So make sure you jump on those if you might be interested. Now, here's the thing. What's the next thing that's needed to make D&D players love your paid games if you're running paid games? I also think that these things should be in free games, but what's the next thing? Okay, I'm going to tell you right now. It's really important to cultivate a friendship with your players, okay? This is something that I didn't have. I'm going to say this. I don't feel like I had time to think about this when I was first starting to run paid games. And there's a point to where this becomes unscalable work that we have to make scalable if we want to succeed at running paid games. But players are people too. And just like any other person, they have feelings. They want to feel like someone cares. They want to feel like someone appreciates them. They want to feel like someone's grateful for their presence. Arithiko says levels 1 to 4 are free. I need the reviews to completely onboard before I start charging. Oh, I got you. Okay, now that makes sense. Totally makes sense. So, players have feelings too. So what I've started doing is I've been starting this process of saying gratitude is a currency. And what I want to do is I want to make sure my players know that I'm grateful for them because I am. I am so I'm so grateful to be playing with so many awesome players. I really do have awesome players in my games. And the longer I go at this and the better I get at this, the better my player base becomes. They're awesome. And we make such great stories together. But players want to feel appreciated, I think. Think about when you're running a game and when players never say, you did a good job, GM, and you never get any gratitude, you never get any positive feedback. All you get is the criticism when something goes wrong. That's no fun. It feels bad. But here's the thing. If we give gratitude to our players, if we give appreciation to our players, this is very powerful. Appreciation and gratitude is a whole currency, and people need it, guys. People need it. So when a player is in your game and they're running a character and they're taking chances, they're trying to role play good, they're trying to be a good part of the table, and then the session's over and you sign off and you don't talk to them again until 15 minutes before the session next week. It's a lot of empty space. It's a lot of empty space. But if a half hour after the game, you message them and say, hey, I just want to let you know, I loved what you did tonight, man. The way you did this scene or this moment you had, that hit me in the feels. This made me tear up a little bit. Ugh. It's like when you cry a tear, it's like, get back in there. It's like, when you let players know that it impacted you, let them know you appreciate whatever they did. This matters a lot. Dirty Sock says, if turn order is the solution to agency, but what if agency is not or misunderstood? What if there is no agency or agency is misunderstood? I think it's a response to a previous comment. Shadow Dark is the answer because it gives you turn order. I think that's what Dirty Socks is saying. I apologize for the yawn. I've been up a long time. We're going on 24 hours with only 2 hours of sleep at this point. Dirty Sock says we solve the problem, right? I believe we do, because turn order will not solve the agency problem if nobody does anything with their turn. Why? Because they don't feel like anyone wants them to do anything, right? Technobabble says it just makes sure each player gets the spotlight. Yes. No, that's true. What I'm trying to say, and what I think Dirty Socks is trying to say too, that sometimes just giving players the opportunity for spotlight isn't always enough. Sometimes we must help to draw the story from them by encouraging, continuing to push the spotlight on them, that kind of thing, right? I really believe this, guys. I believe this is true. I think that I think this is a real problem that some quiet players have. And as GMs, it's in our best interest to help them because, and I'm going to be honest, this is a learned behavior for me. I don't understand quiet players because I'm not a quiet player. I'm a spotlight hog when I play, guys. I'm pushing my agenda. I'm jumping in whenever I want. And then, like, if the GM tells me, shut up, like, that's fine. I understand. It's like, cool, cool. I'm going to go grab a drink or, whatever. Um, that I understand, but not every player is like that. And that's what we've been talking about that, and I'm not going to just keep reiterating that. Dirty Sock says, yes, that is what I meant. Yeah, I think that's true. Okay, now I want to go back to this for a minute, wrap up this other thought, which was, let me grab a drink here real quick. Gratitude. I believe that if GMs who are running paid games start messaging their players after every game, when you get the time, I understand you're busy, but when you get the time, giving them appreciation and gratitude for the awesome role play they did that session, for their awesome contribution to the story, they would see a dramatic increase in the amount of people who stay in their games for longer. I really believe that. Because we need that, guys. We need that. Players want appreciation. And if you show them appreciation, that's going to give you a lot of points with them. They're going to think, wow, this GM appreciates me. They want me in their game. They want to give me the spotlight. They want to hear my contribution, and they genuinely like what I'm doing. That means a lot because a lot of players, they want to please the GM. They want the GM to like what they're doing. They want the GM to think, wow, that was awesome. Like, they want that. Because why? Because the GM position is a leadership position. And most humans are programmed to want to impress leadership. And this is not a bad thing. This is another way of saying we're programmed for wanting to be excellent, right? Because excellence matters in two different ways. It matters in what we actually achieve, but it also matters in how much credit we get for the good things we do, right? So when you're playing D&D, who's going to give you credit if not the GM? Other players maybe, but it's not guaranteed. It's not really in the job description. It'd be good if they did. They don't always do it. Technobabble says, I would agree. I have shyer players and outgoing players. It is your job as a GM to give those shy players an opportunity to shine, though you can lead a horse to water. The more that I GM for shy or quiet players and the more serious I get about wanting them to have a really good experience, the more I totally agree with what you just said. I think that's the truth. Now, I see some new people in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button, drop a comment. Let me know what you want to talk about. Let's talk about what you want to talk about. I'm kind of going through my points here, but we're hanging out. Let me know what you're running. Let me know what your problems are. Let me know what your questions are. Let me know what insight you have. Drop a hot take. I'll respond to it. Join the GM Philosophy Discord. Links in the description. We're almost 600 GM strong. Make sure you download my ebook, The Advanced Art of TTRPG Game Mastery. Learn how to run emotionally resonant games that your players will love coming back to session after session. I think gratitude is powerful, guys. Flip On says, thing is, role-playing takes the same amount of thought and effort as combat with none of the hard boundaries that keeps things in order. Initiatives, turn orders, etc. Oh, interesting. Okay. So first of all, great to see you, Flip Out. Super great to see you. Super pumped for our game on Wednesday. But here's the thing that you're saying. Thing is, role-playing takes the same amount of thought and effort as combat. I think this is true. With none of the hard boundaries that keeps things in order. So I can draw two conclusions from that, Flip Out. I feel like on one hand, you're saying there's so much opportunity. You can dive in, do even more. Maybe you should do more, right? Also, since there isn't the order of things, some people don't do enough, maybe don't do anything, because in combat, you know what's expected. Oh, I should make my attack roll. I should do my movement, get my bonus action. But in role play, there is not that kind of structure. It's not like share a major feeling and then share a bonus feeling, right? There isn't that structure. So in some ways, it can be very good, but in some ways, it can be a double-edged sword, I think is what Flip Out is saying. Digsy Dados says, I'm new on this channel and I DM Daggerheart. Heck yeah, it's great to meet you. I'm pleased to meet you, Dagassi Dados. I hope that's how you pronounce your name. If I'm wrong, I'm so sorry. Dirty Socks says, why are you here? To hit that thumbs up button? Yes, thank you. And while you're at it, join the Discord. It's awesome. We got an awesome e-magazine, 3 issues for free with the amazing resources. Yes, Dirty Socks, thank you so much for that. I appreciate you so much. Dirty Socks is one of the counselors and moderators in our GM Philosophy Discord. You should join. Empowering game masters to run better games is our goal. Now, after gratitude, what is the next best thing we can do to make D&D players love your paid games? I believe the next most important thing is actually balancing, and this is a kind of a new thing, guys. This isn't new to me in general, but I've come back around to understanding the flow and the tempo of the game. Sometimes you have to let players have the spotlight, the agency, let them drive the pace of the story. But sometimes you're going to notice things are slowing down, right? Things are slowing down to the point where it's like players are almost, it's feeling a little boring. Okay. Now, this is kind of rare. I think this is kind of rare, but it does happen. So what do you do? What should you do when this happens? I believe that sometimes as a GM, you need to step in and shake things up, change the pace. So we have spotlight control, but we also need pacing control. Sometimes the GM has to do this because sometimes players, they're thinking about their character. What am I going to do next? So they're looking ahead. They're walking ahead through the story, the narrative, but they don't have the bird's eye view. It's very possible that if every player constantly just kind of looks ahead for the next 10 paces and just does this, then we're going to role play. We're going to have 30 sessions and we're going to have role played a week of walking around the village shopping, right? You know what I'm talking about, GMs. You know what I'm talking about. Drop me a comment and say, I know, right? If you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The pacing can get weird. The game can grind to a slow halt if we never change the pacing. Sometimes you have to fast track it. And the players may not volunteer this. Sometimes the GM has to decide this. Sometimes you got to switch to different paced, scenes. Sometimes you got to skip some scenes. Sometimes you got to slow it way down and focus on a moment. Otherwise, the players might skip over it too much. Pacing control is a GM skill. And I believe that when you are running games and you want to run the best games possible, it's really important for you to control the pacing and to at least be aware of it. I think it's just as bad to force pacing that's unnatural as it is to skip players in the spotlight and to force your own narrative. I don't think it's a good idea. But if we neglect any kind of pacing control at all, we can run into these weird segments where it just slows way down and grinds to a halt. And because players are not thinking about it from a bird's eye view, they may not know, hey, I should suggest we fast track it, because that's not really their job, right? That's not their job. Their job is to play the role of the character, to drive the story of that character. But as the GM, you're trying to organize the story into a piece of art that you're experiencing together. And it's sort of like being the cameraman. What are we going to focus on? We should focus on what's most important, right? Dirty Sock says, drop in some cool, surprising plot hooks to shake things up. That bad guy kicking the door down in the local tavern where the party just started their second breakfast. Yes. I literally had a scene in my 1 a.m. Monday game this morning where some guys from the past, like people who were hired by a dude from the past, came in and just, while the group was having breakfast, they were literally like fireball right in the middle of the tavern, right? And it was fun. It wasn't, I didn't like throw it in there just to change the pacing. There were actually a number of reasons I decided that was the time to usher in that. Part of it was because we had a new player that session. And there's nothing that brings a party together like combat. That's another thing, man. You want to bring a party together quick, have a combat where all of their lives are threatened and they have to work together to survive. It's a great way to bring a party together. And also, it's a great way for new players to show off their combat skills. You've got like a fighter character coming in, and all you do is a bunch of romantic role play. Unless they're really into that, they may get a little bored. Not that they're not into it, or not that they don't even like it sometimes, but sometimes they want to slay some goblins, man. Right? Arithico says, I get it. Nothing worse than boredom. I agree. Bert says, random explosions or techno golems blasting through the wall can shake things up. Techno golems, it's weird that you say that, because I had in my mind thinking, what if wizards summoned a suit of techno armor and they wore it and then they punched, and the armor had like some magic resistance and it gave them super strength? Like, they can summon T-Rexes. Why can't they summon a techno magical suit onto them that then they use to become like a golem and punch people? I'm going to explore this. I'm going to explore this concept, guys. I thought about that today, and I was like, why doesn't that ever happen? And I think it should happen. I think wizards would do this. If given enough time, wizards would literally summon a power suit from another dimension, assembling the molecules, and they would wear it, and they would try to punch the life out of their enemies, because they're not, wizards aren't usually melee fighters, but they could change that with a power suit, and then they could cast spells out of it, which I think would be awesome. I think there's something there. And Bert, when you say techno golems, that made me think of it. That's an excellent thing to say. All right. Now, if you're new to the chat, welcome. Drop a comment. If we haven't met yet, introduce yourself. I'd love to meet you. I love meeting new people. Empowering game masters to run better games is the goal here at GM Philosophy. Make sure you join our Discord. Link is in the description. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. If you would, give me some YouTube juice. I really appreciate it. Helps us support the channel. Gets us in front of more people. Now, 5 ways to make D&D players love your paid games. Another thing you should do. I think another thing that you should do, in addition to all these other things, is I think that you should. I'm just going to say this. This is a hot take. I think you should allow homebrew. I think you should allow homebrew options. Not everybody wants to play homebrew, but some people want to play homebrew, man. And I am in that camp. I've got some homebrew subclasses I'm working on that I'm so pumped about, that I love so much, and I want to run them. And sometimes you meet GMs and they're just like, no homebrew. Why do they do this? They do it because it can get really imbalanced really fast. And I really do understand it, because if you have one player homebrewing something and it's really overpowered, it will make all the other players feel a certain kind of way. They'll be like, what the heck? Why are you letting them get away with that? Why are you letting them do that? It's like, well, it's their class. What class are they playing? Well, it's a homebrew class. Oh, so anyone can create anything and be overpowered. I do understand. I do understand the problem that can arise with homebrew classes and stuff. But I kind of think that you should allow more homebrew. I kind of think we should allow more homebrew. Why don't we allow as much homebrew? I think GMs get intimidated by it. I think they're afraid of the game being broken. Flipout says, players often forget to min-max for role-playing. Goals, motivation, personality traits, and even catchphrases help a lot with spur-of-the-moment character interactions. Daggerheart does this well, in my opinion. Okay, I've never played Daggerheart, but I do get what you're saying. They forget to min-max for role-playing. I agree. When I'm role-playing, I try to keep a few things in mind. I try to keep in mind, what arc is my character on? Like when I'm role-playing a character, not GMing. When you're GMing, you can have your NPCs and villains go on arcs, but that's not the spotlight, right? Pause to yawn. I'm so sorry. I'm just very tired. I'm going on 24 hours, without sleep at this point. Well, only like 1 or 2 hours of sleep, but it's awesome. I love life, man. Don't have time to sleep right now. I've got too much good stuff to do. I wanted to get the live stream going, but so I try to keep in mind like what arc my character's on and what they're trying to learn or develop through this arc. And then I also tried, like, they have some mannerisms. Like, I usually adopt like 2 or 3 mannerisms or like things that they do. Like, Gramazak, my lawful evil Minotaur bard on Monday nights or on Sunday nights that I play in Williams' game. Shout out Dungeons 20s, DM Ramos. But like when I play that character, he's like the whole nature of that character is trying to balance, like, are you born good or evil, or do you get a choice in it? And so he's like an evil character, but he's always struggling, kind of trying to tip over the scales into being good, but it's just like he has a hard time understanding it. And I like to play with that line. And then also, so he has this like creepiness about him. I'll say things like, he kind of like, walks around your character and he gives you this creepy grin. I'll say things like this. And, he has sayings like, the only God is gold and God is good. This is a thing he says because he loves money, right? And then, like, he's got other little things. Like, sometimes I'll have him, like, if someone says something that he thinks is weird, he'll like give them a side eye, but he's trying to, like, to him, he's keeping it low key, but it's not low key. Everyone notices it. So it's just like little mannerisms I give my characters, and I kind of use them over and over again. Why? Because it's their personality. And I feel like that helps me to ground the character in a consistent personality, because most humans have a consistent personality. So anyway, flip out. Long story short, I think you're right. Players forget to min-max for role-playing. Goals, motivation, personality traits. Catchphrases can help with that, absolutely. And Daggerheart probably does do it well. I've heard that. Bird says, during my session zeros, I ask my players questions for their characters to set those traits in early. What kind of questions do you ask, Bert? I'd be very interested in hearing about that. I think we've talked about, I literally think that you have shared that with me before. I think you have. But this is really important to ask, and this is good to ask. And it's good because sometimes players don't know to think about this, especially if they haven't done a bunch of role playing. They may not think to role play this. They may think, oh, what's on my character sheet? Oh, that's what I have to work with, which is why D&D can so quickly turn into a combat minis game, because there's so much more combat focused stuff than role play focused stuff in D&D. Dirty Sock says, what does Daggerheart do exactly for the role playing? Don't have experience with it, so I'm interested. I'm interested too. I need to try Daggerheart. I need to try Shadow Dark. I also have my own homebrew system, which, I mean, I don't do much with, but I'm going to be doing more with that in the future. I think very rules light, and then creating your own rules as you go is so much fun, right? So it's like you start out with a relatively blank slate, but instead of having a book full of feats or abilities, the players create their own abilities, and then they hash it out with the GM to see what they can get away with. I think this is really fun. I think it's a really fun system. I've run so much superhero with that. I've run so much Star Wars with that system. Dirty Sock says, I hear 2 one-shots, Josh, one with 2 new systems. Yeah, maybe so. Maybe I need to play in some of the systems. Here's another thing, though. I think to myself, do I have time to learn a whole new system? I really do think that. I think that to myself because I play D&D 5e. I'm up to date on it. Do I really need to be spending time like learning a new system? I really legitimately think this. Will it add to my life in a meaningful way? Or will it just distract me from all the work I have to do? Because I'm a really busy person, so I don't know. But considering that I do run, a channel that's about TTRPGs is probably a good thing if I understand these systems a little better. That would be incentive, because then I could create videos about it and I could have informed conversations about it, and that would be really good. So maybe I should play in some one-shots with those systems. Dirty Sock says, broaden the horizon. Absolutely. Absolutely. For those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. Drop a comment. Tell me who you are, what you're gaming with right now, what system you're running. It's great to see the new people here. Drop new in the comments. Introduce yourself to me. My name is Josh. I'm the GM Philosopher. We're here to empower game masters to run better games. Talking about 5 ways to make D&D players love your paid games. But it's not just paid games. It could be any games, like with your friends, with your family, anything, right? I'm getting ready to start back up my in-person games Saturday nights. I'm so pumped to get back to in-person D&D. In the future, I plan to play a lot more in-person D&D. I think that in-person has a magic to it that virtual struggles with. But then virtual has a magic in that you can game with people all over the world. This is very awesome. Bert says, the big one I ask is, what made your character want to adventure? And what happens if they get that? Oh, if they get the object of the thing that made them adventure, that's a good starting point. Yeah, I agree. That is a good starting point. What made you adventure? What made you begin this journey? What was the moment when you stopped being an NPC and you started being like a real player character? You ever ask yourself that about real life? This is a real life thing. I feel like we are all kind of like, we think like NPCs. We kind of act like NPCs until we wake up. Something wakes us up. We go on a quest in life. And I kind of think for most humans, I mean, this happens to everybody, I think, but it happens at different times and for different reasons. A lot of times it's spurred by tragedy or bad circumstances, but sometimes it is spurred by just wanting more out of life or having higher ambitions and getting fed up with what we're doing, right? It spurs us to want more greatness for ourselves. But sometimes we also do it to escape danger. You find yourself in a bad circumstance, you get laid off from your job, or you lose your home, or you go through a divorce. These things can spur us either into becoming afraid and we just kind of like curl up in a ball, or we begin the great next adventure of our lives, going through the hardship, the conflict, fighting the dragon, right? Scott Robinson says, I'm not new, but I've been missing for a bit. Well, I'm glad to have you back, Scott. It's great to see you. Just finished 5th 5e campaign in a row, switching to a homebrew superhero game while I plot out the next big campaign for summer. Homebrew superheroes, heck yeah. Is it inspired by The Boys at all? Have you been watching The Boys? I love that show, man. Dirty Sock says, maybe to do a live stream to talk about other TTRPG systems. Sound like something awesome. People can drop their systems and their main strength that their system has. That does sound like a great idea. Gods know I could use some great live stream topics, because with how much I'm planning the live stream, we're going to get a lot talked about. Flip Out says, one thing Daggerheart does is mandatory character connection questions. The players have to build connections with each other during creation, which they can use throughout the campaign. This is interesting. This advice gets floated a lot, and I like the advice, but I rarely do this. And the reason I rarely do this is because of the way that I do it. I have characters basically come into my world through the convergence, so they wouldn't know each other. And I want them to build connections inside the game, right? Now, with that being said, there is a value in having pre-existing connections, obviously. There's obviously a value to that. So this is an interesting thing that makes me think, maybe this is something that most paid GMs don't do, because doing it at scale is a lot of work. But part of succeeding as a paid GM is to scale unscalable things that are good for the game, right? This is a good question, Flip Out. Great comment. And I think that there could be a lot to that. Dirty Sock says, it is possible, but not mandatory, in my opinion. Sometimes building the connection can feel stronger, but combining the two would be better, I think. Okay, got you. When you say combining the two, do you mean, having players not be connected or making them connected? But I think what you're saying is, excuse me, when I start talking a lot, I start yawning, which is bad during games if I'm tired at all, because I'm not even that tired in my brain, but then I'll talk a lot and I'll yawn a lot. I think it's because when I hear myself talk, I think I'm yawning. It's like the yawn effect. Now, I think what you're saying, Dirty Socks, is a blend of both, like a blend of, you don't know each other, but then maybe you have some connections. And so you like blend them organically, I think is what you're talking about. Which is, that's fine, actually. That's great. Scott Robinson says, yes, boys inspired. I'm the guy that's been DMing for 42 years. Glad to be back, just listening while I work. Heck yeah, Scott. It's great to have you. I'm glad you're here. It's great to have you. For those of you who are here, hit that thumbs up button. I would love to get a thumbs up. Give me that YouTube juice. Help my channel get to the next level, guys. We're trying to get to 10,000 subs. And I really appreciate all of you for tuning in and listening. I appreciate the whole live stream crew. I really like you guys. And I'm happy that everyone is in here hanging out, talking about the game, having a better day. It's Monday. We all need a little something to uplift us on a Monday, guys. Bert says, I found that making it mandatory to be on the player sheet doesn't necessarily incentivize player agency to act on them. That is true. That is really true. So how do you incentivize it? What I want to say right away is maybe don't incentivize it, just make it voluntary. And if they want to do it, or you could do a thing where if players know each other, then like everyone who does that and actually acts on it in the first 3 sessions in a meaningful way gets a free feat or something, right? You could do that. Dirty Sock says, combination meaning some characters know each other, others don't know each other. They eventually will bond over the story progression. You would hope, right? You would hope. You would really hope they do. Guys, if you haven't joined the GM Philosophy Discord, do so. Link is in the description. We are here to empower game masters to run better games. If that sounds like the place for you, then you have found the place for you. And make sure to grab my premium ebook, The Advanced Art of TTRPG Game Mastery, Deep Philosophy, Insights, and Tactics for the Experienced GM, How to Run Emotionally Resonant Games and Keep your players engaged, keep them coming back week after week, month after month, year after year, run epic campaigns and make them awesome, make your players love them. That book is available in the description for a low introductory price. But grab it soon because I'm about to release a new product, and this new product is going to be lit, guys. It's going to be lit. But this book is all about 24 years of gaming wisdom packed into 50 pages. That's what that book is. I tried really hard to pack all the wisdom I had into 50 pages, and I dare say it's pretty good. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I get great reviews from the people who read it. Now, Dirty Socks says, combination meaning some. Oh, we already read that one. Okay. So I really believe that it is important to keep in mind that, yes, incentivizing players is good, but we also want to ask, how can we overlap incentives? So saying to a player, I'm going to give you an extra spell slot if you role play your material components. This is a thing, right? But then also you might say, if you actually meaningfully role play your connection to other players, and I'm going to give you, after 3 sessions of doing that, I'm going to give you an extra feat. So this is a very basic example of incentivizing, right? You can do simpler things or you can do more complex things, whatever. I'm just giving you an example. But what if you layer it all or combine it all? If you create a lot of overlap. So for example, you say, here are 3 things I would like everyone to do. I want everyone to role play their material components, make it epic and awesome. I want people to role play meaningfully the connection between player characters. And I want you to tell me what you want your character's goals to be at the beginning of every session. I'm going to drop a document in the chat. Everyone put in their goals. And if you actually do that, if you do all 3 of these things, then you're going to get these rewards, right? But it's like you do all of them to get all the rewards. So you check the boxes, all the boxes. Is that too much pressure? Or is this actually better because you are creating more incentive for more like diverse things that you would like to see done in your games because you believe that'll make the games better? I will admit, I sometimes feel like I under incentivize. I sometimes feel like I'm pressuring players if I incentivize too much. Like if I do too many of these things, but I'm starting to rethink that, guys. As I go further down this journey of running paid games and I'm playing with more new players, I'm starting to think maybe I've been too afraid of the incentivizing thing, because what I'm afraid of is pressuring players, but I'm not actually pressuring them if I incentivize them. I'm just incentivizing them. Maybe I need to not be afraid of that. I'm legitimately having that conversation in my mind. Like for the past 2 days, this has been something really in my mind, which it's interesting that you guys are bringing up incentives, because that makes me think of it. And so I'm being honest with you about something I've been thinking about. What do you think? Drop a comment. Let me know. Do you think that it's pressuring to put all these incentives out there? Because then puts on the players' minds, oh, if I don't do that, I'm not going to be doing a good job, right? But sometimes players need help to bring the stuff out, right? Dirty Sock says, I give players the option to create a freebie random item that they can carry with them, but it needs some relation to their character. One of the characters made an armband of cord. It had some crazy powers, but it creates an awesome backstory. Yes. See, that's the thing. If a powerful item is used to enhance the story, I love it. I love it. I've never regretted giving a powerful item to a player that was used to enhance the story. What I have regretted is giving really powerful stuff to players that they did not use to advance the story. They used it to like break the game and make other players feel bad. That is actually that's a line of responsibility that's very hard for a lot of players to understand, I think. And I think players who do it really well, I really appreciate them. Like I've had players just through munchkining and min-maxing amass so much power that it really made the other players think, oh my God, like it's overpowered, it's broken. But it's like, this is what you get when you combine really aggressive min-maxers with like people who literally don't care about stats and they just want to role play. But here's the problem. If you treat the minis combat rules as written, those min-max players always have this leverage over the role play players. They'll just take them out, right? In theory, like you can't beat me at combat. So good role play isn't going to outdo good combat. How can you as a GM combat that? Well, here's what you do. You make it so that the role play is valuable. You have to boost the value of the role play, and that will help balance things out. But you have to really boost it. Give them powerful allies, right? But I will say this, players, min-max players who do achieve great power but use it responsibly and they do not use it to make feel bad moments for other players, I respect the hell out of those players. I think they deserve massive props. I think that's a sign of great maturity among role players, okay? Dirty Sock says, we have nerved when it is too strong. Oh, nerfed. But he managed to don't overuse it, only use it as a Hail Mary. Great power comes with great responsibility. I agree. Responsibility for what? Responsibility to make the game better or not as good for players. Players have that ability too. A player can ruin the game for everyone else, right? Or they can make the game awesome for so many other players. Like they can be a role player who engages with everyone, or they can be a weird, like, loner, right? Who runs off and tries to have they try to have main character syndrome while the other players are struggling to get spotlight time because they're a spotlight hog. Don't be a spotlight hog. Be a brilliant spotlight strategist who brings the other characters into the spotlight with you, and this will make you amazing and awesome, and your gym will love you forever. That's what happens. Listen, drop a comment, drop a thumbs up. Let me know what you want to talk about. Drop a comment in the chat. I really appreciate everyone showing up. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you for hanging out with me on this Monday afternoon. It's an awesome Monday, guys. I walked outside. The sun was shining. It was warm. It was too hot for my hoodie. I took my dogs out and I was like, what the heck? It's like summer again out here. Missouri weather in the spring is crazy up and down. There will be frost, like literally on Sunday morning, there was frost on my windshield. Now it's hot out there, too hot for my hoodie, right? Dirty Sock says, how would we call the counter of a spotlight hog? I think you would call them shy players. That's the opposite. Is that what you mean? Arithico says items that level up with a character are great. Yes, I agree. That is actually great. Underutilized. I started using this when a player had trouble with ditching Grandpa's beloved hand-me-down sword for a +1 sword. Yes, that is brilliant, and I don't think it's done enough. I love that. And sometimes, like, instead of rewarding players with a new item, reward them by having the gods or the powers or whatever make their existing item better. Sometimes it's a better reward. You're not spamming new stuff all over the place. You're enhancing what is already valuable. Great comment. Dirty Sock says team player. Oh, I see the opposite of like someone who is really in the spotlight, but they're not a spotlight hog. Team player. Yes, I agree. It's like, you know, it's like when you are engaging other players, team engagements, team, I don't know, team player is pretty darn close. That is pretty darn close to the right thing, the right term. All right, guys, we've come up on an hour. I've really enjoyed this live stream. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm going to bounce. I'm going to go eat some breakfast. Spotlight divider, maybe, maybe that almost sounds worse. I'm going to divide the spotlight. I'm going to take all the spotlight on the side. You can all share the scraps that are left. That's what I think of when I think of spotlight divider. Anyway, I really appreciate you all. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Hit that thumbs up button, drop a comment, hit the subscribe button, join the Discord. Links in the description. Be awesome. Be cool like the cool kids. Empowering game masters to run better games is our goal. Make sure you grab my ebook. If you want to run emotionally resonant games that keep your players coming back time after time, 24 years of gaming wisdom compacted in 50 pages, grab that today. It's available for a limited time for special introductory price. Not going to want to miss it. I appreciate you all. Have a great day, and I will see you awesome people on the next one.